Excellencies and distinguished delegates, once again, a very lovely morning, and welcome to the IGAD, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development Spotlight Session, showcasing the IGAD Nairobi process, which is a regional approach to finding solutions for refugees, returnees, and host communities. Excellencies, honorable ministers, distinguished delegates and experts of African Union Commission and IGAD member states present, our host today and our partner UNHCR, IGAD development partners present, IGAD Secretariat experts, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of His Excellency, Dr. War Kennedy, Executive Secretary of IGAD, and on behalf of Her Excellency, Madam Fatia Loan, I would like to warmly welcome you to IGAD Spotlight Session. And more specifically, the IGAD Secretariat would like to warmly welcome the honorable ministers present here from IGAD member states. We deeply appreciate your coming to this special event. Excellencies and distinguished delegates, if you may recall, in March 2017, the heads of state of IGAD member states held a special summit, an extraordinary summit on finding durable solutions for Somali refugees. And this summit led to the Nairobi Action Plan, but not only did it deal with Somali refugees, it has become a landmark roadmap for the management of refugees in IGAD region. This morning, we shall showcase how the Nairobi Action Plan has become a regional approach to implementing the UN Comprehensive Refugee Response Framework, the CRRF. Excellencies and distinguished delegates, once again, the IGAD Secretariat welcomes you to this spotlight session. And at this point, please allow me invite our moderator of the session, His Excellency Ambassador Afe Mohammed, who is the Special Envoy of UNHCR to the Horn of Africa and the East, which is basically IGAD region. Ambassador, most welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Am I loud enough? Thank you very much for that kind introduction. This is a special session, special IGAD session, and we are honored to be joined in this session by the High Commissioner himself, Filippo Grandi, who, as you know, has a very busy week, given the competing meetings that he has to attend, and at that stage, I'm sure we shall all accept his apology if and when he decides to take early leave to attend to other urgent engagements. I'm also joined in this high table by our director, regional director for the Horn of Africa and the Great Lakes, Madam Clementine Inkweta Salami, the IGAD representing the executive director, but in our own right, a very important player in this process, Madam Fatia Alwan, who is the director for social development of IGAD Secretariat, and also Ms. Henriette Gigla, Directorate People and Peace, Director General Development Cooperation of the European Commission, DG DEFCO. Honorable ministers, partners of this important process, as the introduction indicated, this is a very important event today for us. It's a culmination of a process that has continued to define the IGAD region in the way refugees should be managed, started by the summit of 2017. We would like to thank IGAD member states and also Kenya, which also did host this important meeting at that time. We think that that actually was a game changer, that particular event, March 2017, which actually inspired the Global Refugee Compact, the adoption of the compact 1 year later in 2018. I do not have a lot of remarks to make. I'm so honored to really moderate this particular session. And to the High Commissioner, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you personally for the honor you bestowed on me and to this region, because you had the option to appoint a special envoy from anybody else from around the world. But you took the decision to appoint me as a special envoy for the Somalia situation. Now, you rehearted me to become the special envoy for the Horn of Africa. So I think this is an honor for us as a region. I want to take the opportunity to thank you for that particular honor. Now, I think in the interest of time, we will play a short video which kind of will set the pace for us, and then we get remarks from the high table and get intervention from governments present here and our partners. Can we get the video to play?
Over 4.6 million refugees and asylum seekers are displaced in Eastern Horn of Africa. Leaders in the regional body Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, have come together to find answers. Uganda, Somalia, Ethiopia, Kenya, Djibouti, Sudan, and South Sudan have made commitments to improve education, livelihoods, jobs, and self-reliance for refugees and their hosts. In March 2017, countries signed the historic Nairobi Declaration on Durable Solutions for Somali Refugees and Reintegration of Returnees in Somalia. Heads of state all made pledges and commitments. Reintegration programs support those who choose to return. In the coastal city of Kismayu, they're given training and assistance to start businesses.
Masha Allah, farxad aad iyo aad u weyn aan dareemay wadankayga nabad dadkayga iyo dadkeena hore dalkeena hore waan u soo laabanay haddana meel xurriyadeena waa caadi inta u jeedaa inta ka imaata la isma dhahay.
Ethiopia remains committed to keeping its door open to all seeking international protection. We would encourage others to continue to do the same.
A new progressive law allows refugees to work, and all are now able to legally register events such as births and marriages. Baby Angakun was the first refugee child born in Ethiopia to receive a birth certificate.
These refugees, when they come with skills. Given our Pan-Africanist ideological orientation and the history of our people already captured above, it is not such a difficult problem to absorb or coexist with the refugees from within Africa.
Refugees can access land, own businesses, and move freely. Development actors, humanitarian agencies, and even the private sector have taken notice. Mobile companies have built masts in northern Uganda benefiting hosts and refugees. Richard and Gift took an online business course and planned to sell mobile phone accessories.
This is the shop that we have come up with to open the business.
And we hope it will be a success here in this village.
In the Kalobehi settlement, Refugees and host communities share services like hospitals, markets, and schools. An innovative shelter project gives refugees money and freedom to build their own homes.
This process brings the refugee and the host community together because the refugees will be able to buy materials from any supplier. Most of the supplier currently are the host community, and also the masons are both the refugees and the host community.
Notre conviction qu'une paix totale et durable dans notre région est possible et se raffermit chaque jour davantage. Nous devons ensemble, inlassablement travailler à l'accélération des efforts visant à promouvoir l'intégration régionale.
In December 2017, the country led the way in adopting the Djibouti Declaration focused on education, implementing progressive new laws to provide standard and quality education for refugee students. They are taught the Djiboutian curriculum to help them better integrate in the local communities.
As far as they are living in Djibouti, it is good for them to learn the Djiboutian curriculums, because if they learn the Djiboutian curriculums, the children may reward at the end of the year or when they finish school a certificate.
In Sudan, refugees are supported by host communities who generously share the little they have. The government gives them freedom of movement and the right to work. Many are from South Sudan. The world's youngest country is slowly emerging from conflict to rebuild and restore the nation. The Nairobi Declaration was focused on the plight of Somali refugees, but the model is finding success with the South Sudan crisis too. Countries in the East and Horn of Africa are an example to the world, leading the way in showing refugee inclusion as an investment, not a burden. But IGAD countries cannot and should not have to do it alone. More support is needed for refugees and the communities hosting them to continue thriving together.
Thank you very much. I think we deserve some. Thank you very much for putting together such an important video for this particular occasion. I just want to acknowledge that we had the support of many partners here, but in particular we'd like to mention the European Union, the World Bank, UNDP, the governments of Germany, and many other important partners of this process, just to acknowledge that this process was the cumulative support of many partners and actors. I just want to begin by requesting the High Commissioner to make some remarks, and then we will get IGAD's Executive Secretary to make his High Commissioner.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Global Refugee Forum. Today, I will have the pleasure in this preliminary day to the forum to launch 3 support platforms. As you know, or as you may know, the support platform is a tool that was enshrined in the Global Refugee Compact endorsed by the General Assembly a year ago. So the other 2 platforms will concern the Afghanistan situation and Central America, but I feel very privileged and very happy that the first one of the three platforms that I am launching today together with IGAD and with all of you is about this region. And I think it's very appropriate that this is the first of the three launches, because there is no doubt in my mind that thanks to IGAD and thanks to states in the region and thanks to all other partners, donors, civil society, private sector, this region has made extraordinary strides in adopting and practicing some of the approaches that the compact foresees and talks about and proposes to the international community. And this was done well before the compact was discussed and approved in the General Assembly last year. Because I remember very much that since the 2016, when the process leading to the compact was launched, IGAD and states in the region said, we need to look at displacement situation in our region. We need to adopt new approaches in order to improve the situation of those displaced and of the communities hosting them and promote the pursuit of solutions. It was in that spirit, as was already recalled, that the Nairobi Declaration was issued after a summit in early 2017, so very early days in this process, very much in the forefront compared to the rest of the world. And it was always in that spirit that important meetings at ministerial level were held in Djibouti in 2018, 17. I was there anyway. I'm very proud.
December 2017.
So end of 2017, and the following year in Kampala, focusing, so the one in Djibouti focusing on education, the one in Kampala focusing on livelihoods and jobs. And I know that everybody is now working on a third strand looking at health, which is very important, and I hope that there will be a third pillar next year added to the already very rich set of tools that you are equipping yourselves with in this context. I was also happy that the Nairobi initiative, if you recall, was born out of a sense that there needed to be better responses to the Somali refugee crisis, but subsequently the scope of this cooperation was enlarged to other displacement situations, including that which is very big, the biggest perhaps, of the South Sudanese refugees and displaced. And I think it is appropriate that this region has been so much in the forefront because, of course, it is the theater of some of the largest and most protracted refugee situations in the world, and also, although this is not the focus of the compact, of some of the largest situations of internal displacement. In fact, the Horn of Africa, unfortunately, carries with itself a kind of notion that displacement has been there for a long, long period of time. As far as I can tell, my first job with the United Nations was in Sudan, dealing with Ethiopian and Eritrean refugees, and unfortunately, Minister, as you know, this was quite a long time ago. But I think that in this difficult context and this challenging context, some of the achievements that you have reached are quite remarkable. You know, I'm just giving some examples that do not do justice to everything that you have done. But some of the legislation, it was mentioned in the video, some of the legislation, for example, in Ethiopia and in Djibouti is really ahead of most other countries in the world in legislation promoting the inclusion of refugees in services and in the economy. Out of camp policies promoting the notion that refugees should not be closed in camps, but should have access to services and jobs are, you know, Uganda is maybe the world capital of these policies and has really made them into a phenomenal approach. But Sudan as well has adopted this policy in respect of the South Sudanese or many of the South Sudanese refugees living there, and elsewhere in the region as well. In Kenya, in Kakuma, in the west of the country, we have some of our most advanced experiments of new forms of financing, including attracting investment from the private sector. So I could give you the list of things. So yes, the Horn of Africa, Eastern the Horn of Africa, is a region of great displacement, but has also become a region of solutions and opportunities. And I want to thank IGAD, because IGAD has permitted, being a regional organization, to create a space where many partners are involved. And Mohamed Afey, Special Envoy, already recalled some very key ones. Some are with us here today, or all of them in fact, the European Union, and especially the Development Office of the European Union. Germany, that has been a very important donor through its developmental approach. The World Bank, one of the champions of this new development approach in humanitarian situations. Our sister agency, the UNDP, and of course many, many others. The list is long, I won't mention everybody. Many partners that have come together in one or the other or all of these situations to provide new responses. So today we will launch here in this meeting the new platform. The first regional platform, as foreseen in the Global Compact, will be, by a few hours only, will be the one in this region. And I would like, please, let's give to this platform a big round of applause. But this applause is especially, if I may say, for IGAD and the countries in the region that have shown courage and leadership. It is not easy. We know how challenging refugee movements have been for all your countries. But we also look at the region. We saw at recent political developments, transition in Sudan. We saw the peace, we are watching the peace process in South Sudan. We have seen important strides made under the leadership of the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, one of the co-conveners of this entire forum, and in other parts of the region. Yes, displacement continues to be complicated and a challenge, but we have also political space for opportunities and solutions. So I cannot think of a better time to establish this platform than taking advantage of this momentum for peace and hence for solutions to displacement. And you know the best solution remains voluntary return and reintegration of refugees in their countries of origin. And I conclude by wishing and hoping and trusting that the platform that we launch today will be an even stronger vehicle, a stronger place to come together and work with the resources, with political commitment, with engagement towards those solutions. And it is an invitation, because there's so many people in this room, for other partners, other donor states, other institutions, other NGOs, organizations of the private sector to join in and help us achieve this very important goal to ensure the protection of all those displaced in this region, and above all, to sustain the progress towards durable solutions. Many thanks. And I apologize again for having to rush, but I have a lot of other engagements in this forum. Thank you for having me here.
I think, thank you very much, High Commissioner. I would like to invite Madam Fathia, who is representing the Executive Secretary of IGAD, Warkena, Mr. Warkena, who could not be able to join us this morning. Madam Fathia.
Good morning, and thank you, and bonjour to everybody. On behalf, thank you, Moderator Ambassador Mohamed Affe, for the warm introduction. Just for those who may not know Ambassador Affe, he is not just the UNHCR Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa, but the brainchild behind the Nairobi Declarations. Thank you, Ambassador. On behalf of His Excellency, Dr. Werkene, who actually has not been able to join us, but he is arriving this afternoon, I would like actually to read a speech on his behalf. We have been actually honored to have also His Excellency, Mr. Filippo Grandi, the High Commission of Refugees among us, Your Excellency, Ms. Henriette Geiger, representative of the European Union, Excellencies and honorable ministers, ambassador, and representative of the IGAD member state, member of diplomatic corps, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor and privilege for me to address this special side event. I thank you, all of you, for coming, and I'm really impressed by the huge turnout. First, I wish to apologize on behalf of Dr. Werkene, the Executive Secretary, but as I say, he's convening his greetings, and he also joining us this afternoon. Second, also, I would like to thank the UNHCR for convening the Global Forum for Refugees just 1 year after the Global Compact on Refugees. This is a bold demonstration, His Excellency, on the commitment to sustain the momentum on the implementation of the Global Compact for Refugees. Indeed, the number of refugees and displaced population have continued to grow across the globe. IGAD region hosts one of the highest concentration of displaced persons. Despite the declining figures of third country resettlement, IGAD member states have maintained an open door policy to refugees from within and beyond the IGAD region. We applaud these efforts. Third, also, and from the outset, I wish also to categorically state that while this side event focus on the regional approach, the real work is done at the national level. IGAD would not be here if we had not the action of our member states. I therefore wish to commend each and every IGAD member state for the individual efforts and achievement. Excellency, distinguished delegate, colleagues and gentlemen, allow me to give a brief overview of the Nairobi Declaration and the progress made over the last 2 years. In March 17, as the video has indicated, the head of state of IGAD had adopted the Nairobi Declaration and its plan of action on durable solution for Somali refugees, reintegration and returnees in Somalia. The declaration has been expanded beyond Somalia to gather all refugee situations in the IGAD region. To roll out and operationalize the Nairobi Action Plan is considered to be the regional application of the Global Forum for Refugees, though through it, IGAD member state made 5 major commitments, namely to create a condition conducive for return, to maintain the asylum and protection space in host country within the IGAD region, to promote the socio-economic inclusion of refugees and host community in refugee setting, to pursue regional cooperation through the whole society approach to refugee response, and also to work in solidarity with the international community to increase responsibility sharing for refugees, returnees, and host community. Considerable progress has been made over the last 2 years across various thematic areas on education through the Djibouti Declaration and also the Plan of Action for Refugee Education, the livelihood through the Kampala Declaration on job livelihood for the refugees returning host community, and the health also for the integration of cross-border and mobile populations in country health programming. Key achievements have been included the development of policies and national plan of action, which have strived to integrate refugees into the national planning system. The IGAD member states have also secured loans from the World Bank through IGAD 18 to improve the basic social service, expanding economic opportunities, and also enhancing the environmental management for community hosting refugees. IGAD member states have also elaborated on this achievement, will be elaborating their achievement across the respective territory on this. We have also witnessed considerable increase in international solidarity and responsibility sharing as evidenced by increased financing in terms of both loans and grants by major donors like the World Bank, EU, Germany, Netherlands, Denmark, Sweden, among others. We have also witnessed the engagement of non-traditional partners, including civil society, academia, and private sector. Here also allow me to single out the contribution of the International University of Africa in Sudan. Inspired by the Djibouti Declaration, the university has allocated a total of 1,000 scholarships for refugees across the IGAD region. Excellencies, we have learned important lessons along the way. Key among these lessons is the need to sustain the momentum and also galvanize support for the implementation of the Nairobi Plan of Action. To this effect, we have identified, as also His Excellency Philippe Grand say, that to establish the IGAD support platform, which IGAD and UNHCR will officially launch today. The support platform will aim to attain the following: sustain and galvanize the political momentum of the Nairobi process, mobilize additional support for the plan of action, particularly in the education, livelihood, and health sector, but also follow up on the commitment, declaration, and plans of plan of action through an IGAD secretarial-led process supported by the core group. Already 2 achievements have been made in the operationalization of the support platform. One is the concept that the support platform and his term of reference have already adopted by the IGAD member state. The number 2 is that the European Union has already approved a financial contribution of 3 million to support the support platform. IGAD also pledged to convene a follow-up head of state summit in 2020 under the new chair of the Republic of Sudan. The summit will be aimed also to sustain and galvanize the political momentum for the implementation of the Nairobi Declaration and Plan of Action. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to conclude by encouraging all of us that we have done our best. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Madam Fathia. Now we will get brief statements from member states of IGAD. And in the interest of time, no, sorry, my apologies. My apology, really. We will get a statement from the Director, People and Peace, Director General for the Development and Cooperation of the European Commission, Mrs. Henrietta. I'm sorry, you have the floor.
Good morning, Chair. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. We celebrate today the remarkable progress achieved since the adoption of the Nairobi Declaration and its action plan. Charting the path set out in the Nairobi Declaration, IGAD heads of state and governments took decisive steps to tackle displacement as a region. Indeed, the process started. Since it started, the number of refugees and IDPs in the region has substantially increased. Yet, you have not wavered in expressing your solidarity and generosity. The fact that you have kept your doors open to those seeking refuge in the face of unprecedented movements of population, despite significant challenges in your own countries, is not lost to the rest of the world. We congratulate you for the adoption of ambitious new commitments to facilitate the inclusion of refugees, effectively moving towards giving refugees many of the same rights and opportunities as your own citizens. This process, orchestrated by IGAD, has been vital in helping to mobilize political attention, but also commitment for action on displacement. The role of the IGAD Secretariat ensuring the success of the Djibouti and Kampala summits was essential. We have accompanied IGAD throughout with UNHCR and other core partners and can attest to the importance of regularly convening to discuss challenges, assess progress, and agree on concrete ways forward. Today, we declare the IGAD process as a refugee support platform, one of the responsibility-sharing mechanisms outlined in the Global Compact. And this is in direct recognition of the work that you have done and have been doing actually for decades. We now need to capitalize on this new opportunity to ensure you get the support you need and you deserve. The challenge of human mobility in our century is huge, and the pressure on many African countries is tremendous. Yet you are courageously tackling it despite limited resources. Despite big national efforts, no country can manage this challenge alone. Together, we can set up dignified and secure mechanisms for governing human mobility. Over the past years, the EU has built a comprehensive approach to address forced displacement, which has proven to deliver results. We share the same approach based on solidarity, joint responsibility, multilateralism, and engagement. And this is exactly what the Global Compact on Refugees is all about. No one chooses voluntarily to uproot their family and flee their home. It is rather a desperate measure of last resort, and the journey to safety is perilous, uncertain, and finding shelter is only a first step towards finding a new livelihood. There should be no doubt that refugees are the first ones to want to give back and contribute to the nations that have generously agreed to host them in their time of need. With the Global Compact for Refugees, not only are we aiming to more equitably share the burden carried by host nations, we are also aiming at helping refugees regain their dignity by giving them the means to become self-sufficient. You have taken important steps by your new commitments to integrate refugees into your national fabrics. We congratulate you for this commitment, and you deserve support. The EU has been increasing its engagement in support of refugees and their hosts. This is truly global, but also very much so in the Horn. In addition to humanitarian aid, the Horn of Africa window of the Trust Fund for Africa has allocated more than 421 million euros since 2016. The Operational Committee of the Trust Fund just approved 3 additional millions to support the Nairobi process, including the launch of the Platform for Cooperation. And just last Thursday, we approved 2 national-level actions, one that directly matches Uganda's pledges at the GRF today, and one to consolidate support to the pioneering work done in Kalobey, Kenya. We believe this is an important agenda, and we intend to stay the course. But while the Global Compact has delivered new resources, money alone is not enough for lasting and true burden sharing. We need to ensure effective coordination mechanisms, and we need to ensure national systems working hand in hand with international partnership arrangements. We need to bring in new partners, as was said this morning, including the private sector and increasingly the private sector. And we need to make sure that those host communities and civil society are fully involved in finding the best solution. We should all strive to work closely together so we can meet the needs locally. And in the spirit of a true partnership, we want to align our support, the European Union support, to national and local policies and to find the best tools to support national action plans. So let me conclude by saying that the EU will continue to be a steadfast partner in this relationship. We will be at your side as we work together for the people of this region, those displaced and those who host them. And you know that our new commissioner, the EU's Commissioner for International Partnership, she was just appointed on the 1st of December, and her first mission took her to the Kalobey refugee camp in Kenya. That was her personal wish. That was her personal wish. In her first meeting with us, she expressed that she wants to make this as a strong political signal. And this says more than 1,000 words about her commitment and the EU's commitment to the cause of refugee integration. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Henriette. I just want to confirm that, over the last 3 years, the immense contribution of the European Union was felt in this process, without which I'm sure we will not have done much work that we have. So thank you very much for all the efforts and all the support you have given to the process. It's now my pleasure to request member states of IGAD, and in the interest of time, I would like to request ministers to hopefully restrict their interventions to 3 minutes, and in the order of the alphabet that we have assumed. So we start with Djibouti. Minister of Djibouti, His Excellency Mumin Ahmed Sheikh. To be followed by Ethiopia.
Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres des États membres de l'IGAD, ambassadeur Affé, Madame la directrice régionale du HCR pour l'Afrique de l'Est, Madame la représentante du secrétaire exécutif de l'IGAD, Madame la directrice de l'Union européenne, Mesdames et Messieurs, tout protocole observé, bonjour. Permettez-moi tout d'abord de féliciter le Soudan pour son élection à la présidence de notre organisation. Djibouti réitère son soutien et sa coopération durant leur mandat. Qu'il me soit permis aussi de féliciter le nouveau secrétaire exécutif de l'IGAD, Dr Wakenen Gebeyou, pour sa nomination à la tête de cette organisation régionale. Nous lui assurons notre entière collaboration et soutien pour l'accomplissement de ses missions. Je souhaite également féliciter le haut-commissaire des Nations Unies pour les réfugiés, M. Filippo Grandi, pour l'organisation conjointe avec l'IGAD de cette réunion de haut niveau sur le thème d'une approche régionale pour trouver des solutions en faveur des réfugiés, des personnes retournées et des communautés d'accueil. Mesdames et Messieurs, comme vous le savez, la région de l'IGAD accueille le plus grand nombre de réfugiés, 4,4 millions, et près de 2 fois plus de personnes déplacées en Afrique. Aussi, pour répondre à ces défis, les pays de la région se sont engagés dans des efforts collectifs visant à fournir une protection aux réfugiés et à rechercher des solutions durables aux déplacements forcés dans la région. Il en découle de ces différentes initiatives appelées communément processus de l'IGAD, à savoir la déclaration de Nairobi sur les solutions durables, la déclaration de Djibouti sur l'éducation des enfants réfugiés ou la déclaration de Kampala sur les moyens de subsistance. Mesdames et Messieurs, depuis son indépendance, mon pays est resté fidèle à sa tradition d'accueil conformément à ses engagements internationaux en faveur d'une gestion digne des réfugiés. La population réfugiée représente plus de 3% de la population totale à Djibouti, ce qui en fait l'un des plus grands ratios en termes de population réfugiée. Malgré nos ressources limitées, je souhaite souligner les avancées notoires réalisées en matière d'inclusion des réfugiés dans les systèmes nationaux tels que la santé, l'éducation ainsi que les opportunités d'emploi. En dépit des défis socio-économiques inhérents à tout pays en développement avec des ressources financières limitées, le gouvernement djiboutien continuera sa gestion digne des réfugiés présents sur son territoire en incluant ces derniers dans son plan national de développement. Je me vois dans l'obligation de souligner ici, en ce qui concerne Djibouti, mon pays est arrivé à la limite de ses capacités et des ressources au niveau budgétaire. Mesdames et messieurs, il est clair que les capacités du gouvernement à honorer pleinement ses engagements dépendent également du partage équitable des responsabilités avec les partenaires au développement, les institutions financières et le secteur privé. Cela devrait se matérialiser par un financement pluriannuel et prévisible en termes d'investissement, de renforcement des capacités de résilience des réfugiés et des communautés hôtes. Les mesures positives mises en place en faveur des réfugiés ne doivent pas constituer un fardeau supplémentaire pour le pays et les communautés hôtes, d'où la nécessité d'une plus grande solidarité et d'un meilleur partage des charges et des responsabilités. Cela conformément au Pacte mondial sur les réfugiés et son plan d'action en faveur des réfugiés. À ce titre, je me réjouis du lancement de la plateforme d'appui de l'IGAD qui constituera sans aucun doute un outil régional important pour mettre en œuvre l'approche commune que nos pays ont développée ces 2 dernières années en vue d'améliorer la vie des réfugiés, des personnes retournées et des communautés d'accueil. La plateforme représente pour nous un signal fort de l'expression d'une plus grande solidarité et d'un meilleur partage des charges et des responsabilités de la part du groupe restreint d'acteurs qui le soutiennent, à savoir l'IGAD, le HCR, l'Union européenne, l'Allemagne, la Banque mondiale et le PNUD. Je voudrais leur adresser mes remerciements. Suite aux consultations, Mesdames et Messieurs, suite aux consultations nationales organisées en marge du Forum mondial sur les réfugiés, mon pays s'engage à intégrer les réfugiés dans son plan national de développement dans le cadre de la vision 2035, renforcer la valorisation des enseignants par un dispositif de formation, de certification, ainsi que d'une prise en charge par le budget national. À assurer aux réfugiés une formation technique et professionnelle en vue d'une meilleure inclusion socio-économique. À investir davantage en matière de santé dans les plateaux techniques afin de renforcer les structures sanitaires dans les zones accueillant les réfugiés pour une meilleure offre de services à tous les niveaux, 1, 2 et 3. Inclure progressivement 12 500 réfugiés dans le programme d'assistance, dans le programme d'assurance maladie universelle d'ici 2021. Je tiens à souligner que la réalisation de nos engagements reste tributaire d'une coopération internationale tangible et efficiente. C'est pourquoi nous réitérons la nécessité d'un appui financier afin d'améliorer la situation des réfugiés à travers la mise en œuvre du programme d'action globale en faveur des réfugiés, en appuyant les projets de développement destinés aux réfugiés et aux communautés hôtes, ainsi que les programmes de réinstallation et de rapatriement volontaire. Mesdames et Messieurs, pour conclure, je forme le vœu que le premier Forum mondial sur les réfugiés apportera des résultats probants permettant d'atteindre les objectifs fixés par le Pacte mondial sur les réfugiés. Je vous remercie de votre attention.
Thank you, Minister from Djibouti. It's now my pleasure to request Madame Hirut Zamani Kassa, State Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia. Take the floor. You have the floor, Minister.
Excellency Ambassador Mohammed Abdi Afai, Special Envoy for the UNHCR for the Horn of Africa, Madame Clementine Salami, Regional Director for the UNHCR, and Madame Henriette Gayer, Representative of the European Union Commission, and our sister Madame Fatia Alwan, IGAD Acting Director for Social Affairs, and most of all, fellow ministers from our region from the IGAD. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to second my brother from Djibouti in congratulating the Sudan to taking over the IGAD leadership, and as well for the leadership transition that has happened in the Secretariat, which will be very important, that has taken Dr. Werkene Gebeyo as an executive secretary. Allow me to start by thanking the IGAD Secretariat, the UNHCR for convening, and also the European Union for convening this important session on the IGAD support platform. I want to also congratulate IGAD member states for the impressive achievements in implementing regional approach of the GCR and its implementation framework, CRRF, and our partners for their generous support in this endeavor. We have to give a special attention and thanks to the IGAD Secretariat for taking the direction of the IGAD leaders to take along the most important initiatives, the Nairobi Declaration, the Djibouti Declaration, and the Kampala Declaration. We appreciate the work of the Secretariat together with partners. Mr. Moderator, Ethiopia welcomes the establishment of the support platform, which is being launched at a critical time where the IGAD member states are in dire need of new humanitarian and development support. This would go a long way in mobilizing additional and new resources and enhance coordinated support in the Horn of Africa and the Eastern Africa. In this respect, Ethiopia wishes to highlight that the operationalization of the support platform should give due emphasis to efficiency, transparency, and accountability. It is vital that we avoid creating additional structures. And we believe the focus on resource mobilization should be guided by geographically and thematically disaggregated national costed plans. Mr. Moderator, Ethiopia has taken important steps in operationalization of the comprehensive approach since 2016. Accordingly, currently, we are finalizing a 10-year national comprehensive refugee response strategy that aims to gradually create self-reliant and resilient refugees and host communities. In addition, the adoption of a new comprehensive and progressive refugee proclamation in January 2019 was an important achievement in having legal framework of inclusive approach in refugees' education, health, registration, access to labor market. Of course, before that, we used to apply a very well-known open camp policy as other countries in the region, for example, Uganda do. Commendable improvements have also been made in civil registration and documentation, free movement and right to work, access to quality basic and social services, and expanding jobs and economic opportunities through irrigated agriculture, value chains, and industrialization, among others. In the opening session of the Global Refugee Forum tomorrow, we will further announce Ethiopia's pledge in these regards. Mr. Moderator, finally, I would like to thank, as a country that hosts refugees, it's a transit country, and at the same time, it also exports its own refugees. We want to thank the IGAD region for the strong collaboration and the spirit that is happening, and we need to congratulate ourselves for being taken as a sample region in these regards. And in closing, Ethiopia calls for committed participation from states in the sub-region, in humanitarian actors, bilateral and multilateral development partners, in the private sector and other relevant stakeholders to plow ahead with execution of global, regional, and national initiatives and mechanisms that aim to sustainably improve the lives of both refugees and host communities. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister from Ethiopia. It's now my honor to request Honorable Olin Tutu, State Minister for Interior of the Republic of Kenya, to take the floor, and I take note of the delegation accompanying you, which includes 2 governors from Kenya who host refugees, the governor of Turkana, the governor of Garissa County. Thank you very much. Have the floor, Minister.
Thank you, Ambassador Mohamed Dafi, Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa. I also recognize your colleagues in the high table, honorable ministers, colleagues, excellencies, ambassadors, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great honor and pleasure to join the historic launch of the IGAD support platform for the implementation of the Nairobi Declaration. Kenya is indeed delighted to have played a crucial catalytic role in birth of what we now refer to as the IGAD process. The Nairobi Summit on Durable Solution for Somali Refugees and Reintegration of Returnees in Somalia, which we proudly hosted on the 25th March 2017, was truly momentous. It was a major turning point for the refugee management, not only in our region, but also globally as well. It is not only refocus global attention on the protracted Somalia refugee situation, but it also laid the foundation for the subsequent declaration, key building blocks of the IGAD process. The Nairobi Summit was solutions-oriented, focusing on obligation by the multiple stakeholders to the Somalia displaced population at the time. I can confidently state that the Nairobi Declaration and Plan of Action were an invaluable blueprint for the Global Compact on Refugees and its ongoing implementation. The Nairobi Declaration and its action plan collectively laid out modalities for the pursuit of comprehensive regional approach to deliver a durable solution for Somalia refugees. The forward-looking nature of the Nairobi Declaration was meticulously drafted to encompass holistic solutions. It adequately provides solution for Somalia in the conviction that conversation on durable solution cannot take place without a country of origin being at the center. Ultimately, this is where significant focus of the international community ought to be, so that conducive conditions that facilitate safe, voluntary, and dignified returns are created. Underpinned by the demonstrable generosity of IGAD state, the Nairobi Declaration set out wide-ranging solutions for refugees, including strengthening the protection of refugees and maintaining asylum space, which is which we continue to do to date. As one would say that the Nairobi Declaration was looking into a glass ball of the future. It detailed mechanism for international sharing of responsibility for refugees, which is what this support platform seeks to achieve. Ladies and gentlemen, indeed, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Subsequently, the Djibouti Declaration on Refugee Education and Kampala Declaration on Job, Livelihood, and Self-Reliance and their action plans provide elaborate opportunities for education and self-reliance of refugees in our region. This is how far we have come. Ladies and gentlemen, the IGAD region has demonstrated to the international community that where there is a will, political will, there is a way. As we launch this support platform today, allow me to call upon the international community to step up, redouble its efforts, and do much more for the millions of refugees in the IGAD region. We hope that the support platform will truly sustain the momentum and galvanize additional support for the implementation of the Nairobi Declaration. We remain hopeful that invaluable partners who have walked this journey in the IGAD process from the Nairobi Summit with us will continue to partner with us in this new chapter. At this juncture, allow me to commend the European Union for their steadfast resolve in shouldering this disproportionate burden with us. Allow me to conclude by expressing Kenya optimism for support platform that will be transporting mechanism for burden and responsibility sharing. As Ambassador Afi has put it, we have traveled together with a big delegation, particularly the two governors that host the refugees, that is in Garissa and Turkana. They are here with us, and Ambassador, we really appreciate, and they are really happy to be part and parcel of what is happening here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. It's now my honor to request Minister from Somalia, Mr. Hamza Zaid Hamza, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management of Somalia. Minister, you have the floor.
Recurrent disasters such as recent floods in eastern Somalia, where 370,000 have been displaced from their homes, destroying livelihood and infrastructures. Those numbers have been added to the already approximately 2.6 million IDPs, which are between 20 and 25% of our population. Also, we have close to 1 million Somalis with a refugee asylum status outside of Somalia, 92,000 refugee returnees, and we host over 30,000 refugees. Somalia has made a great stride to include refugees, returnees, IDPs, and vulnerable host communities in the National Development Plan 2020 and 2024. We already have in place the National Refugee Returnees and IDP Policy, the Interim Protocol of Housing, Land, and Property, and the National Evictions Guidelines. Somalia is finalizing the Refugee Act that states the rights of refugees. Also, we are proud to announce that the recent ratification of the African Union Convention for the Protection and Assistance of IDPs in Africa, Kampala Convention, and will proceed to domestication. Somalia is applying a whole-of-government approach to address the issue of facing displacement, affected community through the newly formed Durable Solutions Secretariat. The goal of the Secretariat is to strengthen and coordinate the national and subnational durable solutions efforts to bring forth collective outcomes that can tackle the long-standing challenges of displacement. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Somalia's commitment for the next 5 years that were identified through a multi-stakeholder consultation process. Commitment number 1, relocation and reintegration for 5,000 refugees, 25,000 refugee returnees, and 50,000 IDPs across the federal member states, including the provision of protection and basic services. Commitment number 2, creation of 250,000 new jobs, 25% of IDPs and returnees and refugee returnees, by creating an environment that enables that private sector to create jobs in agriculture, light manufacturing, and construction sectors. Commitment number 3, find a permanent solution for the recurring flood drought cycle that leads to displacement along the Shabelle and Juba Rivers regions. Commitment number 4, strengthening the provision of durable solution to all displacement population and refugee returnees through developing an inclusive and rigorous National Durable Solution Strategy and reinforcing the National Durable Solution Secretariat. Also critical to all our commitment is the continuation of the government efforts at peace building with Somalia to realize a true international responsibility and burden sharing. We need access to direct long-term development funding and technical support that will allow the government to achieve its commitment to build resilience and achieve durable solutions. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Minister Hamza. It's now an honor to request Minister of Interior of Sudan, His Excellency Refi Idris Dafa Allah, Minister of Interior of Sudan, to take the floor. You have the floor, Minister.
On. شكرا. السيد السفير عبد عافي المبعوث الخاص المفوضية للقرن الأفريقي، السيدة فتحية علوان ممثل السكرتير التنفيذي للإيجاد، السيدة كلمنتين المدير الإقليمي لشرق القرن الأفريقي، السيدة ممثلة الاتحاد الأوروبي، السادة ممثلو الدول والمنظمات، السادة والسيدات الوفود، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. أرجو بدءا أن أتقدم لكم بالشكر والتقدير لعقد هذا الاجتماع المهم، وأن نؤكد التزامنا بالنهج الذي تتبعه الإيجاد في تنفيذ الإطار الشامل للاجئين. وأرجو أن أختصر حديثي في النقاط الآتية: 1. أهم الممارسات الجيدة. يستضيف السودان 1,300,000 لاجئ تقريبا، يقيم حوالي 70% منهم خارج المعسكرات، كما يعتمد أكثرهم على الخدمات المقدمة للمجتمعات المستضيفة. ساهمت المساعدات المقدمة للاجئين إلى حد كبير في حمايتهم وتوفير فرص العمل وسبل كسب العيش لهم. اندمج كثير من الطلاب اللاجئين في التعليم النظامي بأنواعه المختلفة وفي مراحله المختلفة، كما تقوم وزارة الصحة بتقديم خدمات الصحة للاجئين في بعض المعسكرات بتمويل من المفوضية السامية. قمنا منذ العام 2017 بتسهيل العودة الطوعية لعدد 5,400 لاجئا سودانيا من تشاد وأفريقيا الوسطى إلى السودان، وعودة 6,100 لاجئا تشاديا أثيوبيا وصوماليا إلى دولهم. 2. أهم الدروس المستفادة. تواجه حكومة بلادي تحديا في إدارة الحدود بسبب اتساعها وتنوع أنماط النزوح والهجرة. بسبب شح الموارد المالية نتجت العديد من الفجوات التشغيلية التي نعمل جاهدين على تجاوزها. تؤثر التدفقات الكبيرة للاجئين سلبا على الخدمات الحكومية المقدمة للمجتمعات المستضيفة، مما يؤدي للتنافس والنزاع بين الطرفين. بطء عمليات تسجيل اللاجئين يؤثر سلبا على تصميم خطط واقعية. بسبب الأعداد المتزايدة للاجئين فقد تأثرت الموارد البيئية والطبيعية. ضعف المساعدات المقدمة للاجئين خارج المعسكرات. 3. التعهدات والالتزامات. الاستمرار في اعتماد وتنفيذ سياسة الباب المفتوح للاجئين. تطوير حلول جذرية للنزوح القسري. خلق وتعزيز بيئة ملائمة لعودة اللاجئين وإعادة إدماجهم. إدماج اللاجئين في التعليم العام والنظام الصحي على نحو تدريجي. احتمال سياسة الاكتفاء الذاتي لتنمية اللاجئين والمجتمعات المستضيفة لهم. تسهيل الوصول الإنساني للمحتاجين، وتسهيل عمل اللاجئين وحركتهم وتنقلهم عبر البلاد. 4. أهم الاحتياجات أو الحاجيات. دعم إدارة الحدود وإنشاء نظام الإنذار المبكر وإدارة المخاطر. توفير الدعم المالي والفني الكافيين لملء الفجوات في كل القطاعات بما فيها الحماية والتسجيل واستصحاب دعم المجتمعات المستضيفة. مخاطبة قضايا تدهور البيئة والموارد الطبيعية. دعم قدرات السلطات الحكومية. دعم الانتقال من الإغاثة إلى التنمية للاجئين والمجتمعات المستضيفة. دعم عمليات العودة الطوعية، إعادة الإدماج، إعادة البناء والتعافي المبكر. في الختام نشكر جهود المفوضية السامية في دعم الإيجاد، ونأكد استمرار تعاوننا اللامحدود مع دول الإيجاد، ولكم الشكر والتقدير.
Thank you very much, Minister. An honor now to request Minister from South Sudan, Hussein Mar Niyot, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs of South Sudan. You have the floor, Minister.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, first I would like to add my voice to my colleagues to congratulate Sudan for taking the leadership of IGAD. And I would like also to congratulate Dr. Wekner for his appointment as Secretary General for IGAD. Excellencies, in line with the principle of leaving no one behind, the government of the Republic of South Sudan remains strongly committed to supporting refugees and their host communities in accordance with the objectives of the Global Compact on Refugees. Despite multiple challenges, South Sudan has created an enabling environment for the protection of refugees, including through adoption of progressive national law and regulations on refugees. Refugees in South Sudan live in settlements alongside hosting communities. They have right to work, education, and access to land. Hence, South Sudan aligns herself with IGAD, positioned in finding solution to refugees' problems, and we congratulate IGAD for doing this. Excellencies, the Republic of South Sudan has recently ratified the 1951 Convention on Refugees and its Protocol 1967. The Kampala Convention made commitment under the IGAD Nairobi Declaration and its plans. This is a clear indication of our continued commitment to our international and regional legal policy obligations for the protection of both refugees and displaced communities. We are firmly committed to the peace agreement implementation and call for the international community to support South Sudan's ongoing efforts to create an environment that is conducive for the return of South Sudanese refugees and displaced populations. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, South Sudan pledges and commitments will be announced tomorrow in the plenary. In conclusion, given the recent history of South Sudan, our people have endured tremendous hardships due to cycle of civil wars. As a result, many of us have experienced refuge life. Hence, we deeply appreciate the value of peace. My government is committed to bring peace to the country, and we appreciate the role played by the regional and international community, donors, and humanitarian partners who have saved lives of our people, and those who supported us to bring peace to our country. We appeal to you to remain committed to the people of South Sudan, the refugees, returnees, and host communities to enable us achieve the commitment and pledges that we'll announce tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. It's now an honor to request Honorable Engineer Hilary Onek, Minister for Relief, Disaster Preparedness and Refugees of Uganda. Minister, you have the floor.
It's on. Thank you, Chair. Colleagues from the IGAD countries, Uganda would wish to join also members of IGAD in congratulating your team at the UN who are in charge of the managing affairs of refugees in the IGAD countries. We consider this global conference on refugees a very important mid-conference, which we came to participate fully as a country. We have a total of 22 delegates of 22 people, 22 persons, representing among us, we have Minister for Energy and Mineral Development. We have also among us a Minister for Water and Environment. We have amongst us Minister for Health and Minister for Local Government, who are the host for the refugees. Refugees are hosted under the local government. And high-ranking technical officers led by permanent secretary, secretaries, commissioners, and technical heads who will be attending all deliberations of this conference because of the seriousness by which our country takes this conference. The IGAD region hosts over 4 million refugees currently, of which Uganda is hosting 1.4 million approximately. We would like to address in this conference a few areas. We start with areas of addressing causes, root causes of this conflict. I think we have commitment to, as a country, to see how much we can contribute in the restoration of peace in those countries where refugees are running from. And we would wish that our countries, IGAD countries, take seriously accommodation of different political views, not to victimize their citizens on basis of that. Because even in your own house, sometimes with your wife you can disagree in ideas, but you will not divorce her on that account. Or cane her or beat her because she thinks differently from the way you think. So we must accommodate each other. And accepting also and tolerating other people's beliefs. You can have Muslims, Christians, or some don't even believe in God at all. What do you do with them? You don't have to victimize them. So those are the tolerances that we need in order to have a harmonious country, a harmonious society. If you don't do that, we have first-hand experience as Uganda. We had turbulence past. In the 70s, we had a lot of turbulence arising from lack of tolerance and acceptance that people can be different. And therefore, we churned out a lot of refugees. Some went as far as America, Europe, where in East African countries. But when we realized that that is a mistake, we have settled down, and our country is developing and growing. And we wish all our IGAD neighbors consider this as a serious proposal. We want a homegrown solution in their countries to restore peace and tolerance of people with different views and different faiths and so forth. We shall help them to do that. Where those cannot work, like in Somalia, we contributed troops there to see that there's order there, because we were sent to keep peace, but we found there was no peace now to keep. So what do the soldiers do to make sure that there is peace? So, and for that, Somalia is now stabilized, and we are very happy that the country is stabilized. And IGAD must come together to see that all our region is peaceful, and we involve in meaningful cooperation, in trade, for example, development in science, in technology, etc., so that our people deserve better. Our policies are, as a country, on refugees are based on our humane and Pan-Africanist value, where we consider these people as our brothers who are in trouble, brothers and sisters who are in trouble in their countries. And we ensure that they get all the treatment, the best treatment, in order to consolidate further relations, further friendship. Because when these refugees one day go back to their country, they will not look at us as enemies. We would have a lot to cooperate about. We give them a good education, we make sure there's health, we make sure all, except we guard them against politics. They should not join our politics. Because if they join our politics, then that's a different story now. So these are, I would wish all us, we are complying with all these declarations, like the New York Declaration, Nairobi Declaration, Kampala. All these are actually the guidelines that are helping us in managing the refugees in our countries. We have, as you say, progressive refugee policies. Yes, the progressive here is really accepting them as fellow human beings and giving them everything without discrimination. They get jobs, they can do business, and so forth. There is no discrimination in Uganda of any kind. Of course, in the past we had challenges when we had bad regimes, but now things have come to normal. We have developed comprehensive sector responses to address refugee situation. We have developed education response, whereby we have put in place programs, tailored programs that would address the needs of these refugees, particularly refugees coming from the Democratic Republic of Congo and South Sudan. Those ones, some of them have never seen classrooms. And you know, in their heads only violence. And the livelihood, you earn only when you have a gun to rob somebody. I mean, that was the kind of lifestyle they were used to. So we have to tame them down, bring them down to be human beings, and put them in schools. Make sure that we develop schools that would meet their needs, even adults' education. And we carry out programs of psychosocial support to orient their mind, bring their mind down so that they behave again normally in a civilized manner. And we are succeeding, because we have examples today where some presidents who are refugees in our countries. So people in some countries now have presidents who are previously grown in our country, they are refugees, but they have gone back to their countries. They are really responsible citizens. This is the way we must handle refugees as IGAD countries. And we have response on health response. We have already developed it and we are implementing that. Water environment, we are implementing that. Significant steps are also taken towards a sustainable energy response. We are trying our best. We are doing energy saving because the refugees in large numbers, the 1.4 million refugees, they just destroy all the environment for wood fuel. And therefore, we have now that challenge. And that challenge now we are doing it by we are introducing energy saving appliances that can use only 1/4 or 1/4 of the wood timber that they are using. We are also trying to see if other better, cleaner technology can be integrated so that they can use those to save our environment. We have also put in place programs for reforestation, where the forests have been destroyed. Millions of trees have to be planted to replace those destroyed by refugees. And for that, really, we are grateful to international communities who are helping us, the EU countries, even the Eastern countries like Japan has come on board, and Korea, South Korea, and the United States of America and so forth. The World Bank has come in to help us also with some support. We are now also addressing the jobs and livelihoods. Education we give them both vocational and skills alongside the academics. A secondary education is not a normal secondary school for a refugee settlement. You go through secondary education at the same time, in the afternoon you do the technical training so that you become either a builder, a carpenter, and so on, and you have got your school certificates. So you are able to get yourself self-employed. And the refugees don't lack, most of those who have undergone the course don't lack much. They earn their own living, and they save government, they save even the UN bigger burden. So really, we intend to make them have sustainable life. Well, I could go on and on, but maybe in brief, I want to conclude by calling upon international community to renew focus on addressing root causes of displacement. And number two, increase investment in countries of origin to make conditions favorable for refugees to return to their countries. Support our efforts in implementing the global and CRF programs through some funding, because we are also developing countries. Our budget is very lean, and they are fully committed, and sometimes we have a deficit. So we need support, international support. Refugees is not our creation. It's an international problem. So we are looking forward for international support. We have to align the pledges in accordance with the program that we already have developed. Expectation that newly created IGAD support platform will mobilize additional support at the national as well as the regional level is also there. We hope through IGAD we can come together and really address these problems collectively and get collective support to kind of restore order and peace in our sub-region. Thank you very much. I've talked a lot.
Thank you very much, Minister. Now we go to an important segment of our conversation. We have a pre-registered list of delegations and governments that wish to support this effort of the IGAD sub-region. But we will begin with a refugee representative. I have 14 interventions. The good news is that we will serve lunch. And lunch will be served immediately after the interventions, so it will not be before the interventions. So we want to seek for your patience and understanding. We will have a refugee representative, and then number 2 will be Germany, Switzerland, Education Cannot Wait, USA, Japan, Denmark, Africa Private Sector Coalition, Sweden, REDS, the World Bank, DFID, the Global Fund, and the Secretary General of DRC. So in the interest of time, I'll request these interventions to be not more than 2 minutes maximum. And I will request Foni Joyce Vuni to take the floor. Foni, you have the floor, Foni.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Foni Joyce. I am the co-chair of the UNHCR Global Youth Advisory Council. We serve as a consultative group on issues relating to the protection of youth. Sorry, you can hear me? Yes. You can hear me? Very far. We serve as a consultative group on issues relating to the protection of youth. I'm a South Sudanese national and I live in Nairobi. Having experienced displacement, I've had the opportunity to live in the host community where I pursued my education from the primary to the university level through the Duffy Scholarship. And this opportunity gave me I was able to really understand my potential and know how I want to use this potential. In the same host community, the host country, I had to share various resources with the host community. In some instances, you'd find that these resources were outstretched because we have to share it between the refugee community and also the host community. But despite all this, there was the willingness of the host community to keep on giving us these particular resources. And for this, I would like to say thank you to the host communities because they've not given up and thrown us into the holes and said, you're using too much of our resources. Responsibility sharing is not only between a state to a state or between states and the international community, donors and all that. It also goes back to the refugee community because I believe the refugee community have so much capacities that they can give. And if we don't allow them to actually take part in this, then we're leaving out a big constituency. Peace, for me, is the only durable solution. Peace is the only durable solution. So for this, we really need to invest in peace building, in reconciliation, in ensuring that we foster communication between returnees and the people who are already there in the country. We need to foster communication between the host community and also refugees themselves. Because in some instances in Kenya, when the political crisis was happening, as a refugee, you know the value of peace. You understand why you're in that particular country. And if you see this happening, it becomes a problem. So it also goes back to the national education system. We need to include peace-building curriculum in that, because then that will enable us as Africa to really understand that as a continent, we need so much to do on peace. Development can be achieved only if there's peace and the human potential within the refugee communities and the host community is explored. A good example, in Uganda, we have a colleague of ours who started an educational NGO. It's called Co-Brewers. This organization was started by a refugee, but right now it's providing education not only to refugees, but the host community children and youth too. So these are some of the resilience and the potential of involving refugees. We shouldn't just say responsibility sharing is only meant for states and international donors, but we also have to go back to the community, grassroots level. It's also our role, because I believe when we were fleeing our country, we didn't flee without nothing. Some people are educated, and education is one of the things that dignifies you, it gives you that dignity. Things can be taken away from you. You will lose material, but one of the things you'll never lose is education. And for that, education is one of the things that is very important because it enables you to understand your potential, enables you to know how you want to use this potential, but most importantly, it gives you the opportunity to decide whether you want to be a peace breaker or a peacekeeper. And for us, that is why education is important. The GCR calls for a whole of society approach. We can't afford to leave anyone behind. We have to invest in all of us. We have to ensure that everyone takes part in this, whether you're a donor, whether you're a state, whether you're a refugee, whether you're a private sector. It goes back to each and every one of us. We have a role to play in this. With the Global Youth Advisory Council and the support of UNHCR and the Women's Refugee Council, we are pledging leadership and technical assistance to strengthen the skills, the capacities, and networking abilities of refugees, internally displaced, and the host community youth in all their diversity. Because we believe that when you work with the young people, a youth-to-youth initiative, it's very important to give that support. In conclusion, I believe responsibility sharing is showing humanity towards others when it is needed most, and not pointing fingers as to who should do it and who should not do it. For me, it's one of the kind acts to others to create more kind acts. And that's the opportunity I was given when I went to Kenya. So we need more of these such opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Vonnie, for bringing the important voice of the refugees to this meeting. Thank you for what you said. Germany, you have the floor. Germany.
Yeah, thank you very much, Your Excellencies, distinguished ministers, respected colleagues and partners. Germany commends IGAD and its member states for progress in the implementation of commitments made at the 2017 Nairobi summit. The region and several of its member countries have led by example in their commitment to putting the recommendations from the New York Declaration into practice, thus providing valuable good practices and lessons learned for the GCR, for today's Global Refugee Forum, and for other IGAD member states that might follow their example. Reflecting the principle of burden and responsibility sharing, Germany has supported the Nairobi process from the onset. At the national level, Germany is supporting IGAD member states in the implementation of the CRF and the GCR. For instance, funding of our special initiative on forced displacement alone to IGAD member states for refugees, IDPs, and host communities has amounted to more than 200 million euros. The projects have already reached over 300 million displaced people and members of host community in IGAD member states. In addition, Germany is supporting member states in implementing the Humanitarian Development Peace Nexus through a dedicated advisor at the CRF Bureau in Uganda. At this first Global Refugee Forum, Germany pledges to continue to provide substantial development-oriented support to displaced persons and their host communities, especially via our special initiative on forced displacement. We will continue to support our partners in the region to implement enabling and inclusive refugee policies and promote refugee self-reliance. In our engagement for refugee education worldwide, Germany has pledged to take an inclusive approach benefiting both refugee and host community children and youth. We commend the joint commitment to that goal in IGAD member states. We certainly congratulate IGAD on its newly launched support platform, which represents a unique opportunity to deliver on the objectives of the GCR. To conclude, we encourage IGAD to continue to strengthen the regional coordination of the comprehensive refugee response, to support regional learning, and to regularly take stock and monitor the implementation progress of all declarations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Switzerland, you have the floor, Switzerland.
Thank you very much. Given the advanced time, I will be very brief, and I will just make 3 short points. First point, I would also like to comment IGAD on its pursuit, continuous efforts in the field of forced displacement and migration more generally. And Switzerland has been in a strategic partnership with IGAD for 5 years, and we have to say that we are very pleased with this partnership. The second point I want to make is that, and that's something that hasn't been mentioned today yet, but very clearly so, because you had the Global Refugee Forum, but what we really also see as a comparative advantage of IGAD is its holistic approach to migration. So they don't look at refugees alone, they also look at internally displaced persons, they look at economic migrants, and we hope that IGAD will also maintain this holistic approach in the future, and Switzerland stands ready to work with IGAD on this. And then the third point is really about the development partners here in the room. I think it's very important also looking forward that we harmonize our initiatives and that we work together in an effective and efficient way. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Education cannot wait. You have the floor. I hope you will be very brief too. Education cannot wait. Oh, thank you very much. United States, you have the floor.
The United States commends IGAD for recognizing the regional nature of the impacts and solutions of displacement and calling for a strengthened framework for regional integration and cooperation. We are pleased that IGAD member states are committed to a comprehensive and regional approach for delivering durable solutions for refugees while maintaining protection and assistance in countries of asylum. We call on IGAD member states to implement the Nairobi Declaration and Plan of Action and subsequent declarations and plans of action under the Nairobi process. We support the focus on education, health, and livelihoods for refugees, returnees, and host communities in line with the Global Compact on Refugees. We support in fiscal year 2019, the United States provided nearly $1.8 billion for humanitarian assistance in Djibouti, Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia, South Sudan, Sudan, and Uganda. We are encouraged to see others contribute and innovate as we collectively seek solutions for forcibly displaced people in East Africa. Finally, we applaud the government of Somalia for taking significant steps recently to address internal displacement. Thank you.
Thank you, USA. Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I'm from Japan International Cooperation Agency. I would like to make some comment on behalf of the Japan International Cooperation Agency. First of all, I so much appreciate for the work conducted by IGAD and its member states. It is quite outstanding comparing to other countries and regions. Recognizing about the currently increased number of the forced displacement as well as hardship that refugees have faced with host communities, it is quite unique. IGAD make a very excellent work, and this could be a model for all over the world. And we should learn from IGAD process, and we should replicate such kind of work to other parts of the society, of the world. Two major points of the IGAD process is first is a political commitment especially made by Nobel Prize laureate Prime Minister Abiy of Ethiopia, but not only him, but also other member countries of IGAD. Without such kind of strong political commitment, this success cannot be made. So it is one of the very excellent points. A second point is about the try to accept for the refugees. This could be a model for the Uganda, and in Uganda, Ugandan government tried to support for the refugee not only as not as a burden but as an asset, and by doing so, Uganda government tried to provide a chance for the free chance for the work and also free movement of the refugees within the country. By doing so, they will use for the refugee as an asset and also the driving force for the economic development. We should learn such kind of good case from other case, as a part of the world. For JICA, we are also conducting and committed for the refugee and host community issue in East IGAD countries. Like in Uganda, we made for the harnessing for the work between for the humanitarian development and also capacity building in a local community in the refugee hosting areas. As also, we support for the central government of Uganda, try to harnessing for the local situation to the central government. And in South Sudan, we conduct for the support for the capacity building of government, try to make for the prevention and also voluntarily return the refugees back to their country, even in the case whether many donor countries have a very severe position against for the South Sudan. We try to support for South Sudan. This is a confidence building between JICA and Japanese government and to South Sudan.
Thank you.
In case of Somalia, we also support for the capacity building of Somalian public servants because it is a pace, it is quite important to create for the future. So we are very happy to support such kind of many IGAD countries, and we are always together with people, IGAD people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Japan. Thank you very much. Denmark, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, sir. Denmark welcomes the IGAD support platform. We see this as a critically important initiative to facilitate durable solutions to all displacement situations across the Horn of Africa. We believe that it's very important to keep up the momentum that has been created already and that the process moves forward. Hence, this is a unique platform that can help in ensuring a joint ownership of the search for solutions among IGAD members. We therefore stand ready to continue our support to the IGAD processes and to ongoing displacement programs across the regions. We have come to this conference with a number of pledges in supporting refugees, internally displaced and affected local communities across the Horn of Africa, in Kenya, Ethiopia, Somalia, Uganda and South Sudan. Denmark pledges to continue such efforts through our partnership with Danish civil society organizations and the UN. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Netherlands.
Thank you, Chairman. I would not like to steal too much of the time of the other delegates. I would just like to support the statements which have been made in congratulating IGAD with its approach, one of the forerunners in implementing the Global Compact. The Netherlands is also active in this field with a large partnership, 500 million partnership, which will be implemented partly also in the Horn of Africa and which will be launched later on in this forum. Of course, we will seek cooperation with the IGAD platform with our own partnership. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Netherlands. African Private Sector Coalition. Coalition African Private Sector. You have the floor.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, it is my privilege and honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the Africa Private Sector Coalition. My name is Isaac Kwekufokuo, and I'm the founder of both the Emerging Markets Group. I'm also the founding member of the Africa Private Sector Coalition. Here with me today are two additional members of our coalition, Ms. Julie Gishuru, who serves as Head of Public Affairs and Communications to MasterCard Foundation, and Mr. Chris Sananu, who is Chairman of BlackRock Capital. Those who are unable to join us today include Mr. Nuruddin Osman, who is Vice President of Archco Africa, Mr. Alan Kusuja, host for Newsday, BBC World Service, and Mr. Patrick Butateri, who is Chairman of Simba Group of Companies. Today, we are here to lend our voices to your efforts and to speak to the role that Africa's private sector should play in doing its part to resolve the complicated issues facing refugees and host communities in the IGAD region and across the continent. The inspiration for this coalition came following a year of engagement with the Special Envoy's office, together with his team. who invited us to join the efforts to implement the Nairobi Declaration, the Djibouti Declaration on Education, and the Kampala Declaration on Livelihoods and Jobs. As part of the joint effort to the Special Envoy's Office, we spoke to over 50 local private sector executives and made the following observations. 1, there is a low awareness among Africa's private sector regarding the refugee situation in general and protracted situation in particular, which received little media attention relative to more recent crisis. Second, the perception of refugees is limited to that of a humanitarian issue and restricted to the purview of NGOs and governments, and with little understanding of how the private sector could engage sustainably and also how government policies can facilitate such private sector interventions. 3, we also found that when the full socioeconomic scope of refugees and host communities as potential consumers, employees, and even employers is articulated, there is significant interest from the Africa private sector to engage in various capacities. Finally, African-owned SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises, are equally keen to engage in this discussion productively. We are therefore here to affirm that Africa's private sector is both willing and able to work with refugees and host communities in many ways that extend beyond ad hoc financial contributions. With this in mind, it is my immense honor to announce the establishment of the Africa Private Sector Coalition, also known as the Amahoro Coalition for Refugee Economic Inclusion. This coalition is a structured convening, the first of its kind on the continent, of private sector actors who are dedicated to playing a passionate role and support and advocate for refugees and host community involvement in inclusion. We will work with UNHCR and IGAD through the IGAD support platform and other partners. Our founding members, some of whom are former refugees themselves, are outstanding individuals, leaders in their respective fields who are dedicated to supporting the social and economic transformation of refugees and host communities. We therefore commit to galvanize the Africa private sector to work productively and sustainably with refugees and host communities for mutual benefits. We commit to advocate for policies that benefit upskilling and access to decent jobs for refugees. And through rigorous research and creative solution generation, we commit to serving as a vehicle through which other private sector actors can engage meaningfully toward our mission. In the spirit of this momentous convening, we encourage those of you who are eager to bolster the role of Africa's private sector in the implementation of the Global Compact on Refugees to partner with us. Collectively, we believe we can do more for refugees in our region and inspire generations of people to be productive and fulfilled members in our societies while achieving lasting peace. Amahoro. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. We have got just four remaining speakers. I will plead, please, take a minute each if possible. Reds.
The Regional Durable Solutions Secretariat commend IGAD for its leadership in supporting comprehensive regional refugee responses in the Horn of Africa region. IGAD has been instrumental in leading new ways of working in the search for durable solutions through its regional policy processes and convening mandate with member states. Reds would like to commend all IGAD member states on their commitment and achievement to deliver on the Nairobi process and beyond. There is a lot to learn from the Horn of Africa region, including on the importance of supporting national, regional, and local authorities to lead and coordinate multi-stakeholder engagement and to give the millions of displaced a chance of a better life with dignity and self-reliance. The new regional support platform will allow IGAD to sustain momentum and benefit for both refugees and host communities. Reds remain committed to continue to work and support IGAD and its member states, and in particular, Reds pledges to support area-based processes and to invest at national and subnational level, to support multi-stakeholder approaches to measure durable solution processes in each country and support greater accountability among all stakeholders, to rethink the displacement financing architecture to support both early and long-term durable solution processes, benefiting both displaced and host communities, and finally, to support regional and cross-border dialogue, to continue to work with IGAD through the regional support platform, and to create similar approaches for the Great Lakes region by working with the International Conference of the Great Lakes region, ICGLR. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The World Bank.
Thank you, Your Excellencies. The World Bank congratulates the IGAD member states on their sustained commitment to and progress made under the Nairobi Declaration. It's a sign of strength of the process that today we see the launch of the regional support platform for the IGAD Nairobi Declaration. The regional support platform is an important tool to ensure that regional commitments are furthered at the domestic level. As you know, the World Bank has been a long partner to the Nairobi Declaration. Through 14 projects being financed under the IDA 18 sub-window for refugees and host communities, the World Bank is partnering with the members of IGAD to implement their commitments under the Nairobi Declaration, the Djibouti Declaration on Education, and the Kampala Declaration on Self-Reliance, Jobs and Livelihoods. In Somalia, as across the region, the World Bank, as a development agency, knows that addressing poverty, exclusion and vulnerability of displaced persons and their host communities is a key part of overall development of a hosting country. As the World Bank reaches a point of normalization with the government of Somalia, we are pleased that one of the first IDA projects for Somalia recently approved by our board of directors will be an urban support program with especially attention to the inclusion of IDPs in urban planning and benefits. The Nairobi Declaration sets a highly successful global example for how to pursue such an approach. Mainstreaming of a focus on displaced persons and host communities within broader humanitarian and development strategies. We wish IGAD member states the very best with the continued work on the Nairobi Declaration and stand ready to continue our support. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, the World Bank. DFID.
Thank you. The UK strongly welcomes and commends the launch of the IGAD support platform, and we also very much recognise the significant role played by governments in the region. For our part, the UK is active in the refugee response in a number of IGAD countries. In Ethiopia, we're backing market creation and economic opportunities in refugee hosting areas, helping to create tens of thousands of jobs for both refugees and Ethiopians. In Kenya, we're providing skills-based training in business and agriculture and help to solarise the largest hospital in Kakuma. And in Uganda, alongside scaling up cash support, we've played a key part in developing the first ever education response plan for both refugees and host communities. I'd like to pay tribute to IGAD's ability to help facilitate a shared voice and a coordinated approach amongst its members to issues of common concern for the region relating to refugees and displaced populations. And I assure you the UK will continue to play its part in supporting you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Global Fund, the Global Fund.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Efe, thank you very much for this opportunity. We are here present as a team from the Global Fund, and would like to mention that Global Fund is presented in all IGAD member state countries, but here at this forum we'd like to join with the congratulations with the Nairobi Declaration and also with the launching of the support platform by IGAD. At the same time, very briefly, I would like to mention about our support directly to the IGAD as an organization with a very strong convening power in the region. We've been working together since 2016 and finalized this year the first grant that was focusing on TB HIV and launched a new grant which will last until end of year 2022. That grant is going to cover 6 countries in the Horn of Africa out of the member state countries of the IGAD region, and is going to cover 49 refugee camps out of 69 total camps in the country, and is going to cover 70% of the refugee population, approximately numbering out of the 2.9 million refugees in the countries, in the hosting countries, and also the population in transit and the IDPs. It has to be mentioned that this grant is focusing on the TB-related issues and puts as an objective to strengthen capacity for TB and MDR-TB diagnosis, to strengthen in-country and cross-border collaboration. It is important to mention the cross-border collaboration because IGAD, with its convening power and with the financial support from the Global Fund, is facilitating the cooperation with the country coordination mechanism. That involves the capacity building of the primary healthcare workers within the refugee camps and outside the refugee camps to ensure the referral and the quality service delivery to the beneficiaries. The partners that are working together with IGAD under this grant are UNHCR, the Ethiopia's Agency for Refugee Affairs, and the Kenya Red Cross. I think we are really thankful and commend our partners in our implementation of the previous grant, and we're looking forward for the fruitful collaboration and implementation of the current grant. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. We have the final speaker on this session, Secretary General of DRC. You have the floor. DRC? Okay, not there. Thank you very much. So I think it's very clear that this platform has overwhelming international support. And in closing, I would like to request our director, Director Clementine, to wrap it up for us in a minute. And then we get Director Fathia to also do the same. Clementine, you have the floor.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Honorable Ministers, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. The launch of the IGAD support platform is taking place against the backdrop of transformative change in the way comprehensive solutions for returnees, refugees, and host communities are being implemented. The IGAD Djibouti Declaration and its action plan, the IGAD Kampala Declaration on Jobs and Livelihoods, and the forthcoming IGAD Health Summit are key pillars of the IGAD Regional Solutions Strategy. Operationalization of the IGAD frameworks, if adequately resourced, can enable refugees to aspire to become self-reliant and meaningfully contribute to their host economies and create conditions for sustainable return and reintegration. However, a much more robust effort is needed by global actors to contribute towards accelerating the transition from aid dependency towards sustainable development in refugee hosting areas and areas of return. The numerous pledges already made and to be made by IGAD member states are impressive in scope and cover a wide spectrum of interventions which will benefit refugees, returnees, and host communities. In accordance with the thematic area of focus of this year's Global Refugee Forum, IGAD member states have committed to implement costed plans to address unmet education needs, conduct the comprehensive registration and documentation of unregistered refugees, provide pathways for the local integration of refugees in protected situations, include refugees' international health systems, empower refugees and returnees to participate in peace and reconciliation processes, develop vocational training programs, and ensure sustainable management of natural resources and ecosystems in refugee hosting areas. Going forward, the work of the IGAD support platform to steer the implementation of these pledges will be pivotal to harness global solidarity towards refugees, returnees, and host communities residing in the IGAD region. These pledges, if fully implemented through the support of the international community, including private sector, can tangibly contribute to meeting the goals of easing pressure, enhancing self-reliance, and expanding access to third country solutions, while supporting the creation of conditions conducive for sustainable return. Allow me to conclude by sharing a few words with civil society actors. The private sector, and most importantly, refugee participants here today. As witnessed in many countries of the region, the most innovative and successful solutions stem from grassroots actors. I encourage you to seize the opportunities offered by the activation of the IGAD support platform to shape the solutions for tomorrow. With these remarks, I wish to thank you all for your attention, and you can count on UNHCR's continued collaboration, whilst encouraging all of you to remain fully engaged in supporting the region. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Clementine. And now I'd like to request Fathia to take the floor in closing remarks. Fathia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Excellency Ambassador Afi. Excellency and Honorable Minister, Ambassador, distinguished delegates, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, With the launching of the IGAD platform, we would like to reaffirm the commitment of IGAD Secretariat to continue facilitating the unprecedented success of the IGAD Nairobi process and to operationalize the support platform in the region. As all IGAD countries collectively committed to maintain the progressive policies, the international community should also support countries in improving access to social services and self-reliance opportunity. As a next step, on March 25th, 2020, IGAD will organize the third thematic ministerial meeting on refugee for health, which will ensure the integration of the refugees into the national system. IGAD also would like to invite all of you to this important another landmark step in the implementation of the Nairobi process. Finally, I would like to thank all of you. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience. Congratulations to IGAD member states and IGAD Secretariat. The meeting is now adjourned. Lunch is free.